All right, welcome everybody back to the Summer Split, where Splyce are looking to take down the Mysterious Monkeys in game number 2. Now, if you heard that track and you're wondering what it was, you just heard one of Pentakill's new songs from Grasp of the Undying, which is, of course, available as a free download on pentakill.leagueoflegends.com. Go check it out. I know, freemium, right? It's fantastic.
Super cool, really great music. A bit of metal in your life is always good. It's inspired me to pick my guitar back up again. Like, it's super good. Really, and go check out the music video that just came out as well.
There you go.
Teemo gets kicked in the face.
It's a pretty awesome music video. I'm expecting yours to drop at some point, too, in future videos.
I will,
but that might take a little while. Now, let's get back into this series, because Splyce, in game number 2, they've elected to take themselves the blue side. Of course, the Monkeys were occupying that side of it last time around. So we'll see if things are in for any sort of changes. Mysterious Monkeys, it seemed like they did have a game plan in mind, but there still were some problems, Vedius, with the way they finished their draft off. Selfish pick for Cozq on that arena.
Yeah, so we heard the analysts talk about it. We talked a lot about it. And I think there was the potential for it to work. I think that's always the important thing when you pick something like a comfort pick. It definitely can work out. You just have to play really well around it, right? Like, if this is your plan, if you want to try and snowball this arena, then what you need to do is optimally recognize what you need to do in order for it to succeed. And in the early game, they didn't. He was ganked a lot, he was shut down very early on, and in a lot of team fights, they didn't get the proper setup. It wasn't always them forcing the ideal fights onto the proper target. So let's see how they adapt into game 2. I'd like to see Mysterious Monkeys just go for a full 5v5 team-based comp, something where they can all have a very clear objective, and I think that the best way for them to have success is to play around Yuki, because I do feel that he is the performer, especially even in game 1, that can carry the team.
Well, he certainly had some shining moments, just not nearly enough in the last game. And we'll see if they do focus on him. To start off with the bans, it is Thresh and Elise taken away by Splyce, and of course the Caitlyn on the red side for Mysterious Monkeys.
So nothing too unconventional. A little interesting that Splyce would choose to ban away the Elise on blue side. Looks like that is not going to be their priority. Cho'gath, Mikyx, Jarvan, likely all to be big priorities, with the Kalista taken away as well from Mysterious Monkeys on the red side. We're looking at things like the Cho still being available. Zac is currently still available. Alistar was something the Mysterious Monkeys banned away first time around. That's likely going to be up, given the bans we do see.
Yeah, the Mikyx, that's something that they were expecting, and of course it's followed through by the Zac. So is the Alistar big enough to be picked up first by Splyce, Vedius?
I would expect the Cho.
Oh yeah, that's a bigger beast.
That is
followed through by the Alistar.
Interesting. So they actually have a lot of priority on getting this support. We've been seeing it rise a lot more across the world. One of the best engaged sort of supports. He kind of struggles a little bit in lane, but his tankiness is something that's really unrivaled by many of the supports you have, thanks to his ultimate.
Right. For Mysterious Monkeys, it looks like they're still valuing some comfort on top of that solid Alistar pick, or maybe not. Switching over at the last moment, it's going to be the Jarvan. There's that flexible pickup for the Monkeys. Now Splyce, they have the Cho'gath. That could go jungle, that could go top. What do you want to see them pair with it, Vedius?
Ooh, with Cho, I think you always need some kind of initiation. Because Cho works best when he's follow-up crowd control rather than initiation crowd control, and we get the Morgana!
Oh, there we go.
I'm so happy. I've been tweeting a lot about Morgana. I felt like Morgana was going to come back into the meta. It's something that we've already seen. We saw it today in the LCK, KT versus SKT. Morgana being used as an answer to the Alistar. I think she's extremely strong. We can talk a lot more about her once we get into game. But the big thing for me is it's extremely difficult for tanks to burst her black shield. So we can talk a little bit more about that in game. Round things out with the AD carry for Kobbe.
Yep, so he picks up the Xayah one more time. And likely pairing that, of course, with that Morgana, as you were talking about, and that's going to be followed through by an insta-lock-in of the Orianna by the Mysterious Monkeys. So they've gone a lot more safe, perhaps a lot more conventional here in the mid lane, starting off by banning the LeBlanc away.
Interesting, interesting. So, as you already said, there's the flexibility of the Jarvan that could go either mid, oh, not mid, sorry, jungle.
I mean, hold on here. Keen's not playing in this.
Yeah, you're very right, you're very right. Could either go jungle or top lane. We've seen both Kikis. Well, we've seen Kikis play. I don't think we've actually seen Amazing play it yet this split. But that means that we're still looking at what's likely going to be a counter pick option for Kikis. and an AD carry coming out next for the Mysterious Monkey. So with Tristana taken off the board, often considered a pretty good answer into the Xayah. We're now looking at things like the Varus, something that Yuki has brought out, had slightly less success with. Very static AD carries, doesn't have a huge amount of mobility options. Or maybe they take a bit of a Sven approach and they go for something like a Lucian, something a little bit more lane-focused, a little more aggressive. Could be an option.
I mean, if they push themselves forward with something that is lane dominant, do you think that's enough to really propel them to victory in this game? I mean, they were kind of outfought by Splyce because they weren't setting things up well.
Yeah, you're very right. Well, we'll see. You know, if they want something team fight based, I don't think there's anything wrong. But what's better than a team fight than grabbing yourself a Sivir, who was buffed this patch, a champion that we actually thought if she wasn't hotfixed, I feel like she definitely would have become like S tier.
There was one buff that came in and it was like, oh, look at that. My Boomerang Blade does 60 damage if it hits both ways. And then they were like, wait a minute, hold on. That we added a 0 in that we shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So Sivir comes out and
she still has been buffed
in
a little bit.
lot of comps though.
Yeah, she does.
And like you have a lot of tools here that you can work with, it seems.
Yes. Yeah. I think that it's fine. Really good initiation tool. You throw the ulti, you give your whole team a bunch of movement speed, allows the Alistar to get onto those primary targets. The Jarvan can follow up as well, or he can be your initiator. You got a bunch of options. You've got a lot of wave clear. I think that it's a great pick for the side of Mysterious Monkeys.
Of course, we are on patch 7.15, so that Sivir, that fixes up. I saw Splyce hovering a few interesting things that had also been changed on the patch, but it looks like we will be in for a much more standard matchup. The Orianna is locked in for Sencux.
So we have the
Syndra. Orianna and
Gragas. Yes. Syndra and Gragas. Very well-rounded comp overall from Splyce. They have good initiation. They have good scaling. They have strong laners. They have CC. Everything is going in their favor, and we are looking at the counter pick for Kikis up in the top lane with the Gnar. So I think pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, and it seems like Splyce really didn't miss a beat changing their coaching staff, or at least changing their coach, and that's encouraging for a team that is still trying to vie for that top playoff spot. Remember, they are a series back against the leaders of the pack, H2K and Unicorns of Love, and well, they'll get a chance to, if they take this victory here, they maybe take it to the Unicorns later this week.
Yes, very exciting matchup that will be happening later on, and a lot on the line for Splyce, but they have drafted some fun picks. We get to see the Cho'gath once more, causing a bit of terror earlier this morning in the LCK, and has already caused a huge amount of terror throughout the EU LCS. It will be on Wunder. Typically, tanks are not what he prefers, but I think that he will settle, given that Cho'gath can literally one-shot your AD carries. I
mean, I remember talking to him after one of the first Cho'gath top games that we saw here in Europe, and he was just like, yeah, this is great. All I had to do was wander around, and at some point I could one-shot people. It kind of feels good when you can make that happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Monkeys are going to take some extra steps to try and shut that down early on.
Well, composition's locked in, coaches shake hands. There are the lineups. Pyra, what do they have to do on Twitter?
Oh, well, you guys all know it, but I'll say it out one more time. Hop on Twitter at LLevel Esports. It's, of course, the place. And if you believe in the Splyce 2-0, hashtag SPYWin. Of course, the Mysterious Monkeys are your team. Your hashtag is hashtag MMWin. We'll see how things all shake up for game number 2. The Monkeys, they're trying to play spoiler right now, get themselves some extra experience, buy themselves one more game in the European LCS in this week. We'll see if they're able to make it happen as we load on to Summoner's Rift for game 2. And of course, Dreams rocking the only Alistar skin that matters. We'll see if we get ourselves some cowbell.
Exactly, Pyra. You and I cast this game where we saw Mysterious Monkeys versus the Unicorns of Love. What did Dreams have to do?
Yeah! All right.
Now, if tradition serves true, they should win this game. It's already confirmed.
That's true, but you got to look up what they're up against. You mentioned it early on, the Morgana in the bottom side. Why is this so critical?
So, Morgana, Black Shield, pretty much mitigates all of Alistar's engaged tools. You don't get knocked up, you don't get CC'd. And what's a cowbell going to do against a Black Shield, Pyra?
Make some awesome music?
No, it's going to do nothing. It's going to do nothing is the correct answer.
Okay. But so does doing nothing, so yeah. You might as well spam the cowbell.
So something that we often see from some of the Korean supports that do play Morgana is they actually only max the Q and the E. They don't even put points in the W. They don't think that it's worth it. Even for the pushing power, the base value of it is very, very low. So it's not really worth investing into. And the great thing about Black Shield is all you've got to do is if you put 3 points in it, your Black Shield will give you 210 magic resistance, right? Not magic resistance, like magic resistance damage shield thingy, right? And that's a lot. Like, that's a lot of damage, especially when you consider that it's super difficult for break if you're attack, right? Gnar can't really break it. Jarvan can't break it because he only does physical damage. Alistar will not be able to do enough damage to break it. So you're looking in these fights and you're relying on the Orianna to break the shield in those team fights if you want to CC that AD carry who is already extremely mobile, which is why she's such a good pick into big tanks and champions like Alistar.
Yep. And the Dark Binding, decent duration as well. It's going to stop Yuki short to start things off. Now remember, he has that spell shield, so he can counter a little bit of that, but not until he hits himself another few levels. So it seems like this bottom lane for Mysterious Monkeys could very well get stymied, and we mentioned in the last game that that was a critical marker to the Monkeys' success.
Yeah, it definitely was. I feel like they have a lot of success when they play towards their bottom lane, and the fact that you do have this pushing advantage in the bottom side. Now, we do see another gank from Trashy in the middle lane.
Oh, we saw this last game. He goes in with the flash and dash and stunned Cozq. He could not move for days, and that's first blood. Over to Sencux again.
And we're starting to see this change in playstyle from Trashy, where he is like, I'm going to gank mid a lot. I want to get my mid laner set up for success. And we are seeing time and time again these early investments with really easy gank pads where he is just getting these kills and starting the snowball in favor of Sencux. He did it in the Katarina matchup when he was playing Talia, and now he's been able to get first blood onto this Syndra 3 minutes into the game. Love seeing this adaptation from Trashy after his not best week going up against H2K.
That's a good way to put it, not best week. It was a little bit of a rough series, of course, but now there is a return gank because Wunder is getting pushed on by Kikis, and amazing, he's just a little Cho'gath. Leave him alone! Not this time, Kikis gets the kill, but meanwhile down on bot, they're making the 2v2 happen. Dreams, well, his look like they're getting crushed right now. A lot more auto attacks. Kobbe didn't quite have enough feathers to get number 2, but they did finish off Yuki.
Ooh, so a lot more action happening in this early game. Kobbe and Mikyx winning out on the 2 versus 2. A gank from Amazing on the top side in somewhat conventional Amazing in Kikis manner, where they're like, let's try and get Kikis an early lead, but also punish Wunder for overextending in top. So much more bloodshed happening in this early game, but it's Splyce that are coming out ahead.
Yeah, see if they can keep the trend up. Of course, active junglers all across the way. Back to the mid lane. Well, no, not back to the mid lane. It's back to the replay.
So you can see the thing about Cho'gath is he does push a lot. All of his abilities are AoE, so whenever you use one of them, you can hit all of the minions. And so when you're underneath the turret, it's super easy to overextend and get killed. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Dreams used his all-in combo, so now Kobbe and Mikyx actually have nothing to be afraid of. And Yuki decided to take his wave clear instead of his spell shield, which means that Mikyx and Kobbe had enough ability to go all in because there was nothing to block that black shield. Yeah. So with no flash available for Yuki, he ends up losing his life.
I was going to say, that's the worst feeling, when you flash and you then just die on the flash animation. Ooh. Tilter. All right, so we're 5 minutes in. Yeah, as you rightly said, there's a lot of action right now. The gold lead is in Splyce's favor. Gnar are about to come out for Kikis up here on this top side. Junglers aren't around just yet, though, so Wunder has some breathing room, and he has built up that CS advantage. Meanwhile, down bottom, though, Trashy is looking to make a trip, see if they can bait Yuki out. He does have level 3, so spell shield's available. Instead, they send the Dark Binding, but it whiffs. They turn their attention over to Dreams instead. That's a lot of damage on the Mukau. He's flashing.
If that Binding had landed, that would have been a kill. Great sidestep from Dreams. I'm sure he predicted all of that.
If you ask him later, I'm sure that's what he'd say.
Yep.
As a wise person once told me, Vedius, every mistake is somebody else's outplay.
Is that what you say to justify your solo queue misplays?
Look, just because you face rolled on me on a collie the other day doesn't mean you get to talk down to me, Vedius.
I outplayed you is what we're saying, right?
Yes, exactly. I'll give you credit for that one. You pressed all the buttons and you won.
So they did get the flash out from Dreams. Another advantage game for the bottom lane of Splyce. And what we wanted to see from Mysterious Monkeys was maybe more investment in Yuki and Dreams for playing the Sivir. Perhaps Mysterious Monkeys thought, you know what? We're fine just letting them hold their own in the 2 versus 2. And so far, they have not been holding their own in the 2 versus 2. So let's see how they develop from here, because right now Cozq is behind in mids, Yuki's behind in bot, And Kikis is the only one that has a slight lead, thanks to the kill that he got from the back of Amazing.
All right, there we go. They're going in one more time, but Dreams this time he tries for Kobbe. The Black Shield was there. And even in the mid, Sencux is flexing his muscles, I should say. I was completely tongue-tied there as they look for Yuki down on the bottom. The action just doesn't stop Vedius right now. Exhaust is down. They finish him with the plumage, looking for Dreams. And that is going to be kill number 5 for Splyce. 3 of them in the pocket of Kobbe.
And a double kill going over to the bottom lane of Splyce. These guys are on a tear right now, demonstrating why Morgana is the best support in the game.
That is a bold statement, my friend, but obviously, right now it's kind of hard to disprove.
Yeah, well, really impressive performance from Kobbe and Mikyx, really shutting up the haters right now with their really dominant 2 versus 2 outplay, getting a bunch of kills, punishing the over-aggression coming from Yuki and Dreams, and they add to it by Sencux getting a solo kill in mid. This early investment from Trashy has been so impactful, and now he's looking to do it again.
Oh, Cozq, he's got a flash. He does have a heal. He didn't have to use either this time as he was able to see them coming, but he's got to be oh so careful. And there's so many issues right now for the Monkeys. It seems like Trashy has been a big start to them. He's been all over the map.
Yeah, and we saw this in game 1. We're seeing it again in game 2. Something that Trashy really wanted to work on was his early game impact. And he said a few weeks ago on PGL, you know, it is something that we recognize, it's something we want to do more of. And when you look at his game 1 jungle proximity, you can see that he spent more of his time actually sitting in lanes with his laners, trying to set up ganks, than he did actually in his own jungle. And compared to his average, he's increased that by 10%. This guy is being so much more active on the map, and you can see that he is really developing as a player and doing what he can to improve.
Wunder's trying to develop his
I think he's dead.
Life bar. I don't know if that's going to work so much. Kikis, yeah, okay. So that all aside, this is really good news for Splyce overall. They have some growth with the way they're playing. I know it's a really bad moment to say it, but seriously, like what you talked about with Trashy, like the fact that they're able to do this, yes, it's against the Monkeys, not one of the strongest teams in the league. If they can perfect that going into playoffs, they look like a formidable force.
You're right. This is where you want to be showing that growth, right? Rather than, because if you can start it here and you can start the building blocks, then you can make your way to bringing this into the stronger opposition like the Unicorns of Live on Saturday. And this is the sort of same playstyle that you want to be seeing them against other top teams in Europe if they want to break into that top 4 bracket, which has been widely considered pretty solid now for the rest of the split. But we also have to talk about that 1v1 top lane Pyro. We kind of have to.
Yeah, there's a bit of an oopsie there.
Yeah. Kikis on the Gnar. He has range. He has the phage. He has a lot of move speed, so that if Wunder oversteps, he kind of takes a lot of damage, and in this case, he kind of died.
Yep.
So, not great for Wunder, but he's still a tank. And as you rightly said, he's just got to not do much for a lot of the game, and then all of a sudden, he can kill you in one nom.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the old top lane holding pattern adage, but maybe not, because Trashy wants to make some moves up here. Kikis is going to sniff this one out, but he's got no flash. He would have to use Hop if he wants to get out. And instead, Trashy walks back to clear the ward. Jarvan's coming as well, and I don't think Splyce fancy the 2v2 just yet. Also,
Sencux was on his way to the top side as well, so good respect there from Kikis. But he knows that Amazing's nearby, so he's just said, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. We're not going to go for this dive. And Kikis, he's fine up in the top lane. So things, they've slowed down a little bit 10 minutes into the game.
Yeah. We haven't seen a lot of the kill differences manifest in a huge item differential, at least not in that mid lane where you see, it's a massive CS differential in favor of Sencux. He's got 2 kills to the 2 deaths of Cozq, but he's still not completed a first item yet. We'll talk about that in a minute because Wunder was getting piled on, but Trashy steps in and that Gnar is nearly out, gets the barrel to knock away Amazing. Dragon Strike for the combo to try and get back to the safety, but Sencux is here. Scout of the Week is flashed away from. And he's still going in for round 2, though. The Ghost had already been used. And I don't know if that's where you want to be. Sencux unleashes the power. And Amazing is still going to stand alive.
Bit of a greedy play there from Sencux, but he will end up trading both his summoner spells for the flash of Amazing. Binding does land.
Yeah, and so do the chains. Oh, flashing forward. Not going to be enough. There's no follow-up here, though. So Cozq does get to walk out free.
So just very quickly, you can see Mikyx, 3 points in his Black Shield, 2 points in his Dark Binding. Morgana plays at home. That's what you want to be doing if you're playing on a Morg. The Black Shield, at this point in the game, already gives you 221 magic defense. I guess, is what you'd call it. A magic shield,
It
right?
is a big shield that prevents magic from happening to you.
Exactly.
That is what Morgana does.
Yep. So,
as well as a bunch of other, you know, slightly gothically themed things.
Yep. But really good roam from Sencux. Love the fact that he pushed mid, moved top with the rest of his team. Doesn't result in any kills going in favor of Splyce, but it also denies Kikis and Amazing any kind of opportunities to snowball this top half of the map.
But for the side of Splyce, it seems like they're already in a comfortable position. But where do we need to see like the breakout performance? Can they just coast on this, or like what else do they need to make sure they win this game?
Well, they're fine scaling, right? Because their main win condition is actually just winning fights. They have a really strong 5v5. Morgana, we talked a lot about her Black Shield, but also her ulti is really effective as a zoning tool. And if people stay within that zone, they're going to get rooted up, right? Also, you have the Cho'gath and Gragas, really good team fighters. And along with Syndra and Xayah, they both scale pretty well. And I think that in the full 5v5, they're actually in a good position. Now, Mysterious Monkeys, they too have a decent 5v5 when you have an Orianna and a Sivir, but they're going to take a little longer to scale up compared to the Syndra and the Xayah, especially with the lead that Kobbe has already been able to build up for himself. The big advantage that Mysterious Monkeys have is that they can play on the side lane. But it's just something that we talk so much about when it's Mysterious Monkeys, like, oh, Kikis, he can still win in the 1v1 later into the game. Maybe they can win through split pushing. That's never what happens, Pirate. They always get dragged into these 5v5 fights, and because they're behind, even these leads that Kikis has built up, they never translate into a team fight win.
Well, that seems to be the same kind of thing that we see from Splyce. Not necessarily getting dragged into the 5v5, but the fact that they weren't winning with the 5v5s for a while. And, you know, maybe the Monkeys aren't offering the stiffest of resistance, but is this a big improvement from Splyce to be able to execute on this composition as it is so far?
Well, I think what we're seeing is a bit of a typical Splyce play, right, where they do get leads through laning phase. Usually you see the leads coming from individual performances like Kobbe and Wunder, just really picking strong champions and labeling them to win out in the 1v1 or 2v2. Kobbe and Mikyx did it bot side, and it's actually been Sencux with a bit of help from Trashy in the middle lane. And this is the developments that we've seen, thanks to the early jungle pressure that Trashy's been able to exert, especially in this series, along with the fact that Wunder is playing a tank. They've gotten these early leads, and because of the advantages and item advantages that they have over their opposition, they'll be in a better position to fight. So even if they don't set up the optimal play, it's fine because they have gold to make up for that.
Yeah, and they've started to turn that gold into items as well, right? You saw Kobbe finishing his Essence Reaver off. Of course, he has the Zeal to complement that right now. And on the other side, Yuki is still working on his pieces of Infinity Edge. He had to go back and get a Cole first item. I mean, that's never what you want to do.
No, not ideal. Oof, that's actually very, very rough. But he is on his way to completing that Infinity Edge. The Mysterious Monkeys, they're okay for now.
As okay as you can be with the 2.5 gold deficit
they're
15,
okay,
right?
because you're still looking at this 2-0-0 Gnar, and you're like, they're okay, they're okay.
So the win condition you're saying is Kikis. That sounds familiar.
We did talk about that, you know, he can potentially win on the side lane, but I think Kobbe is the biggest threat right now the Mysterious Monkeys have to be concerned about. The best thing for them, I think, is trying to find a pick. Maybe if they can get a cheeky gank down onto him, but it's going to be difficult from this point on.
Yeah, and they're kind of leaving some holes here that Splyce are kind of slipping through to be able to find some more damage on towers. It's pretty easy to just freely poke away at this with Wunder and Sencux up in the top side, looking to siege on to this tower as well, but Dreams does go in. He managed to get that knockup. Black Shield comes in just after. They do get the root onto him. Still sending the feathers flying for one more shot on the tower. It's not finished off just yet, though. It seems like they're content to try and trade because they know they have the better one. But Trashy, he goes in on the hunt, and the spell shield comes out, but Trashy does not connect, so it looks like it's just going to be given up for this tower.
But they've done exactly what they wanted. They're going to be able to get themselves the tower. They force the ulti out from Yuki. Risk of engage now heavily reduced. And that's 3 tier 1 towers going in favor of Splyce. Now, sure, Mysterious Monkeys, they can answer with a tower in the bottom lane of their own. Let's see if they get a fight.
All right, there's the Feather Storm. Yuki, he had the spell shield on once again. Didn't end up taking the damage nor getting the mana back from it. So, looks like the Monkeys are trying to commit to just having a push on the bottom side, but look who's here. It's Wunder. He's going to be flanked by Mikyx as well. And Kikis knows he can't really do much with that.
Interesting TP came out from Wunder right there as well. Surprised that he would want to try and save Kobbe when he looked pretty safe. Will mean that Mysterious Monkeys do have this TP advantage available to them. Let's see if they can try and force a play, because if they're going to, they need to make something happen. Otherwise, this game is slowly going to fall away from them.
Yeah. Oh, well, Kikis, you can't jump them all. Cozq just trying to wave clear it up in the mid. And yeah, it does seem like, while you said they have some scaling, if they keep falling further and further behind because Splyce are the ones making those proactive moves, it doesn't really matter.
Quite right, like Splyce, well, I mean, they're happy to just sit and scale, right? Both these teams do pretty well in the mid to late game team fights. Splyce is slightly stronger simply because they have the Cho'gath rather than the Gnar. But it very much depends on how the fight actually starts and who can be that initiator. And credit to Amazing, he's farmed pretty well. He does have a slight level advantage over Trashy, but I don't know if that's really going to mean a huge amount if the rest of your team is kind of super far behind.
Yeah, that's always the rough thing, right? And then you just kind of get into the holding pattern of, all right, well, we need to wait till we get to that late game state, be able to fight these teams out, but it seems like it just could turn into the desperate fight. Now Amazing might be a bit desperate himself as he's forced to burn Flash. He's got some help to clear the waves away. The Splyce are happy with this. Free summoners. And they could just go right back to doing it again. Business as usual.
Precious still coming out from Splyce in the middle lane. Good vision setup from the Mysterious Monkeys top side, but that's not going to help at the bottom of the map, which is exactly where Splyce is right now. They're continuing to siege on the tier 2, and I think that once Sencux pushes this extra wave, he can rotate round to the bottom lane too, but instead they're just going to disengage. So things have certainly slowed down after the relentless onslaught that Splyce had built themselves up in the early game.
It was a pretty big opening, seriously. Like the bloody all over the place. The Monkeys were willing to take those fights, and then all of a sudden everybody's just like, all right, we need to rest. We need to rest. We need to wait for that 40-minute mark, and then we can fight it out again. It's like if we go from like DBZ in like one opening of the game, and then all of a sudden like now it's just everyone's taking the stop to just have a cup of tea or something.
Now, they've already been beaten up now, but they know that once they take a Sensu Bean, the simple rule of the Saiyans is once you've been beaten to near death, you come back stronger.
But how long does that take? It seems like about 30 minutes or so as Yuki's forced to flash away. Shield is on, heal is on, but it doesn't mean a thing. Kobbe with the 4th kill of the game. He is having one hell of a series.
Well, this is the trick, Pirates. See, the thing is, if you're beaten near death, then come back. That's where you get the power up. It doesn't help if you actually die, because then you're not able to come back.
Unless, well, okay, that's not totally true. You can collect the Dragon Balls.
Well, yeah, but the point is here that Yuki is dead. He's 0-3-0. He's continuing to die. He's falling behind, and he's having a rough game so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate because Mysterious Monkeys had some success with him doing well in previous weeks, and it seems like now it's kind of back to the old standby and hope that Kikis can do enough, but if they keep getting caught like this, I don't know what hope there is for this team in this game.
Kikis, the Wonder Man himself, the hero, the one that played Akali in Challenger Series. Who would love, by the way, just saying.
He does have a lot of names and a lot of titles. It looks like Splyce are going to be the ones that are going for this dragon right now that'll help them move around and try to get those collapses on even quicker. But yeah, we're 20 minutes into this game. They're still building that lead. They're not taking any really unsafe risks because they absolutely do not have to.
Thing is, I feel like Splyce could, though. This is something that I would like to see a little more from Splyce. Just utilize power spikes and gold leads more. Because, I mean, when you look across the board, right? Essence Reaver Static Shiv is done for Kobbe. Sencux, Luden's Echo, and Morellonomicon. What does Cozq have? Oh, he has a Morello and half a Banshee's Veil done.
Yeah, that shotgun's not going to hurt.
Has a single Infinity. Like, you have such a big item advantage over your opposition. This is a great time to force fights. Barons, dragons, whatever it is, force stuff.
Like this.
Like this.
Yeah, but with the whole team.
With the whole team.
Yeah, that was brutal, man.
And that's just, and I think Splyce are just a little too slow to make these plays happen. And it's nice to see that we are getting some progression, like a lot more early ganks that are working out for Trashy. Solo laners still stepping up to back where they used to be. And this is good. I like this. Baron being forced, they have good vision. Mysterious Monkeys, no. Let's see if a fight kicks off.
All right, already down to half its health right now. If they wanted to go for a steal, it's a little too late. Smited down, or eaten, I should say, by Wunder. They even get a stun off and take down Cozq out of that fight immediately. Kikis, I don't know if you can push towers fast enough, buddy, because Splyce are knocking on the front door, looking for that Game 2 victory.
Very classic Mysterious Monkeys. No teleporting from Kikis. The team doesn't really have an idea of what they want to do around the Baron. And Splyce with the Cho'gath ultimate, with an overfed Xayah, knows that they can rush it down, and they do so. This is exactly the kind of proactivity I wanted to see from the team. And and now they're going to be making their way towards those inhibitors of Mysterious Monkeys.
They might be making their way towards a kill onto Amazing first, but he flags, he drags, and he's out of range. Still, Baron picked up, tower knocked down, Infernal is going to be the next dragon as well. Splyce are setting themselves up for a good finish. 6K is the gold leader, 5.5, and as we go back in and check this Baron play once again.
So you can see here, there was no teleport. The Gnar was even available. They didn't even want to try and fight it. There was not enough vision for Mysterious Monkeys because they lost it throughout their entire jungle from Splyce. And Mysterious Monkeys, they were limited in their options, but it's just one of those instances where you can see they just all don't seem to be on the same page. Kikis was just like, try and stall them, I'll get a tower. But he did get the tower.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta give him credit. They're still able to make some things happen. But yeah, I mean, it's rough right now because at 22 minutes, it's just such a big gold deficit. They, lost game 1 in spectacular fashion after Splyce were able to just keep them on the back foot, forcing out fights that, well, Mysterious Monkeys forcing out the fights that Splyce were still able to come up with the win. And now they just have the stronger composition. They just have the stronger cohesion. And I think this growth is good. It'll definitely be put to the test later in the week, though.
Yeah, that's the true question. Can Splyce maintain this sort of composure and play style against one of the other top teams in Europe? Because Mysterious Monkeys, they are locked in for relegation. They will be playing against either Giants or Schalke or Red Bull, depending on the victor of the playoffs that will be happening this Sunday. So a lot left to be decided, and so far from what I'm seeing, this Mysterious Monkeys not looking that spectacular. Individually, Kikis still performing pretty well, but Yuki and Cozq, they really did get shut down in this early game.
Yeah, and some of the same problems for Monkeys, right? Like, you highlighted the issue with they just don't really know exactly where they want to go, what they want to do in a clutch moment, and well, a team like Splyce can certainly punish that. Scout of the Week isn't going to land here. Yuki just outside the edge of the Dark Binding range, and they maybe can't break into the base just yet. Of course, Baron still going to be on for another minute, but they can just keep on pushing. And man, that burst damage, it's starting to stack up. Down the bottom, Wunder versus Kikis is the push, but Kikis isn't going to keep on going. And, you can't put all the eggs in the Kikis basket all the time. So Splyce, they're just going to slowly push through, see if they can end this one if the Mysterious Monkeys get baited out into the fight.
There's a lot of wave clear from Sivir and Orianna, which just make things a little difficult. But TP flank.
Oh, let's see if they turn the fight before the TP is even going to finish right now. Kikis in the back. He's soon to have Gnar, but maybe this is a chance for Mysterious Monkeys. Kobbe is able to get that Featherstorm out. There's a big amount of burst damage, though. The AoE's coming hot and heavy. Wunder right in the mix. And it looks like they forced Dreams away. Flashing back, and Cozq, he's flashed, but he's down. That is one quick kill picked up by Splyce.
Best case scenario, really, for Mysterious Monkeys, but they couldn't get on top of Kobbe. They couldn't get on top of Sencux. They could only really focus down the front line. And those aren't the players you want to kill when you are this big of a disadvantage. Splyce, they're going to work towards their inhibitor.
That's going to be the way it goes right now. Mysterious Monkeys just don't have the same level of cohesion. Too far behind in the gold game. They're seeing their base crumble. No, they may not have a whole lot to play for, just practice, but they have certainly got to learn from that.
Splyce now, they don't want to back away just yet. Cozq's still dead. They have the Baron buff just wearing off, I believe. So they will decide to disengage.
All right, and it's a nice time for them as well. They've already knocked down one inhib. There's another Infernal Dragon coming up soon. They go back, spend that hard-earned gold, and honestly, just look to shove it wherever they want.
So let's have a look back at the replay. You can see good flank here. Knock-up initially lands onto Kobbe. But this Jarvan ultimate actually stops the rest of the follow-up coming out from Mysterious Monkeys. Really good barrel from Trashy there to knock both Yuki and Cozq within range of Sencux, who then just melts through the team. Like Kobbe, he had the black shield on him. There was no more threat of CC. He did have to use his ulti defensively, but it ended up working out. I was a little worried when he was focusing down the Alistar, but fortunately, Sencux was still able to kill that primary targeting Cozq.
Yeah, Monkeys are trying for one more desperation play here. Waiting and baiting Mikyx. Oh, that was a value ward. All right. But that Morgana has been really critical, not just in the laning phase, those team fights as well.
Certainly has been. Really enjoyed watching Morgana play. Hopefully more teams pick her up in the future. But in the meantime, the Infernal Drake now being started off by Splyce. Ulti used for Yuki. Again, an example of like the lack of coordination on everyone on the same page. Some people disengaging while Yuki uses the ultimate to engage. And Mikyx, he walks away happy with what he was able to get for his team.
Yeah, all the pieces falling into place for Splyce right now. Wunder getting his eat on, and he just keeps stacking. Even though he had a rough early game, he's not having too much trouble anymore. And Kobbe feels like he can frontline this one. That shockwave connects on two, but does not do the damage that the monkeys were hoping for. Amazing, looking for a flank. But there's nothing to really flank here. Splyce is just way too strong.
Oh, they really are, Pyra. 5-man unit. Wunder just tanking up the tower, but they're not done yet. They're going to keep pushing on bot. They need to be careful.
Forward assault right now on this bottom inhibitor tower. It's getting cut through pretty quickly here, but you can see Dreams looking to try and dissuade them from going any further. Amazing as well. Mysterious monkeys are just gonna keep at it.
He's back to full health. He was at about a 10th of his HP after tanking the tower, but with Warmogs, he's like, nah, I'm full.
That's a great item. Nice regen.
What a champion.
Oh boy. So Splyce, they're just looking for that last push, and I mean, we've been waiting quite a while, obviously. Hans is pretty happy. His coaching rate, his win rate is going to be pretty high after this series, it looks like. As Trashy goes in, they look for Kikis. Kobbe gets the deletion here. Shockwave pulls in 3. Once again, doesn't matter. Wunder with one quick kill on the eat, and they've blocked them all in the pit. Sencux on a rampage, and down goes the Jarvan. So Cozq, Yuki, the only members left to try and defend this one. Splyce, they keep on working their way through this base. 27.5 minutes, 3 dragons, and yeah, it's about time to conquer the 7 kingdoms. Let's keep on pushing in for the win.
Very clean game from Splyce. They can be happy with the dominance that they demonstrated here today as they rip through the remaining mysterious monkeys and are looking to take the series win.
Well, Kobbe gets the last 2 death blows here, and that's the ace. It's just shy of 28 minutes on the clock, and Splyce say it's time for the Nexus. GG, well played. Sorry, monkeys, but we are heading for playoffs.
The elation on Splyce's face. You need to calm down, guys.
Yeah, that is an overreaction. But Hans, hey, you got to be happy for this guy. 2-0, 100% coaching win rate.
So far, yeah. Making his way for being coach of the split. Definitely seems like it.
He's going to have to fight against Freddy 1-2-2. But yeah, for Splyce, you know, they got to be happy about this right now. Like, they showcase improvements. They're looking ahead. They're still contending for the #1 playoff spot. Obviously, they're not 100% locked in yet, but they are one step closer.
They certainly are. Very impressed with Trashy this week. I think that a lot of his early ganks look fantastic. I think Kobbe really stepped up. I think that it was tough for him playing up against H2K. The compositions that he was going against made it extremely difficult for him to perform well. But this time around, not only did he dominate in the 2 versus 2, but his positioning in teamfights was spectacular. And also Sencux. You see what this guy can do when you get a bit of investment into him, and it's no longer all about make sure that Wunder gets snowballing on this sort of carry top lane, and you can put him on a tank, you know that he'll be fine.
Especially if it's Cho'gath.
Yeah, especially if it's Cho'gath, and you can just rely on the others to be that carry threat.
Yeah, really, really impressive performance from Splyce, and you know, the monkeys, they were, to their credit, trying to make plays. The execution just isn't always there. The game plan is just not always what they needed in the moment, and team will definitely have to be reviewing a lot of that as they head towards the promotion tournament and the opponents they'll face there.
Yeah, and the one thing to note is that there is a big gap between playing in Challenger Series and then playing in the LCS. And we can see that Kikis are amazing, and I mean, even Cozq, Yuki, Dreams, these guys all look good during the actual promotion tournament. They all look dominating. And then coming into the LCS, it was a very different ball game. So even though they're not looking super dominant right now, we could expect, or we should expect, a lot more closer games in the playoffs, because we do know that Schalke and Red Bull will be playing this week on Sunday, and then we know that Giants are already locked in, so you're bound to get some kind of exciting series. We already see a lot of familiar faces too, like Gilius, Kasing will be playing for Red Bull.
It's going to be a very exciting time to see some of those names, especially. But let's go back over to Splyce, too, because we got to give our Player of the Series award. And I think it's really no surprise. It's going to be Kobbe. The guy was just stacking on the kill counter, and I don't think he hardly died.
He didn't die.
Game, not that
Great
one.
observation,
Aha!
Yeah,
that's what we have stats for.
We talked a lot about him. He had a great series overall. I think that his Xayah in both games was exceptional. His positioning is always good. I think it's a perfect champion for him too, because you can exert a fair amount of lane pressure depending on your support on the matchup. But also just in these late game team fights, it's something that Splyce wanted to work on more, and they're demonstrating that they really can do and rely on this superstar carry that is becoming arguably one of the best in Europe.
Yeah, I know there were definitely a lot of strong opinions about him last week with that Kog'Maw, and I think he really kind of silenced a lot of critics with the way he performed now. When the team sets him up for success, he is really able to do a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the fact that they got so many 2v2 kills down on the bottom lane, both him and Mikyx. You got to praise the support too, of course, because what is an AD carry?
Hey, you loved that Morgana, man, and there was a good reason for it, so that was fantastic. Now, Splyce, they were very close to securing playoffs after that win, so let's head over to Drakos for a word with the ADC.
ADC player of the series, not a Xayah one trick, luckily, playing a lot of stuff in the recent weeks. Now, coming into that second game, my first question for you is, did you expect to just dominate bottom lane so hard? I know the Morgana pick came out of nowhere. What were your impressions of the early laning phase?
Yeah, I kind of expected to dominate bot lane in this series, but first game I think I made a like really big mistake level 1, so we couldn't really win lane that hard. But game 2, I think the matchup was really, really horrible, and I think you can't really, or it's very hard to play Sivir into Xayah, so I expected to win that lane hard, yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. You guys were able to execute. Now moving forward, you guys have not quite locked playoffs yet, so I have maybe a potentially frustrating standings question for you. Vitality and H2K, they're playing very soon. Now, if H2K win, you guys are going to lock playoffs after this victory today. But if H2K lose and continue to lose, it is possible for you to secure first place. So looking forward, H2K or Vitality, who would you want to take that series?
Actually thinking of it, then Vitality, like, should be better for us. But, like, let's say H2K go and win, then we would have them to win against UOL, so we can go for second. But that, like, we need to win our last 2 series for that to happen. But yeah, I would say Vitality then, yeah.
All right, rooting for them. Now, looking forward, guys are very close to getting locked into playoffs, as I mentioned before. What are your goals to close out this season? Will you be okay with a third place finish, potentially going up against G2? Or is that a big fear at this point?
We're definitely not looking for the third seed, because I think G2 is going to be really tough to go against in quarters, and that's not really what we're looking for. So, like, Misfits is not easy either. We saw last split what happened there. But I think I would rather, like, get first if we can, but otherwise then second, I think we're fine with that.
Probably the better place to be. Looking at how the team stacked up, we'll find out shortly. Now, I have one last question for you before we toss a break. Are you at all a fan of metal in any way?
Not really.
Okay, second question. Do you hate Teemo?
Yes.
Perfect. Then I have a video for you. Pentakill's new album, Grasp the Undying, has just come out. The music video for Mortal Reminder not only features metal, but some Teemo violence, and we're going to take a look at that, going over to a break before we come back for G2 versus Misfits.